You ever find yourself in one of those situations where backing down feels like losing, but not backing down could be a total disaster? Well, today, we're diving deep into a fascinating and, let's be honest, pretty dangerous idea from game theory that explains that exact feeling. It's called the chicken game.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to break down what the classic game of chicken actually is. Then, we'll look at a terrifying, real-world example involving nuclear weapons. From there, we'll see how the very same logic shows up in high-stakes business deals. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with the big takeaway.
All right, let's jump right into part one, the game of chicken itself. At its heart, this whole thing is a pure, simple, and incredibly high-stakes test of nerve.
And it all boils down to this one simple, brutal question. Who is going to swerve first? Everything, and I mean everything, hinges on the answer.
I want you to picture this. Two cars speeding towards each other on a narrow road. There's only one lane. A head-on collision is coming unless one of them chickens out and swerves. That simple, terrifying image, that's the game.
So to put it a bit more formally, the chicken game is a conflict where swerving makes you the chicken. You lose face, you lose the contest. But if neither of you swerves, the result is catastrophic for everybody involved. The whole game is built on pressure.
Now you might be thinking this sounds a lot like that other famous idea, the prisoner's dilemma, but they're actually very different. See, in the prisoner's dilemma, it's often logical to betray the other person, but in a game of chicken, the winning move is to project this image of absolute, unshakable stubbornness. Your entire goal is to convince your opponent that you are definitely 100% not going to swerve, so they had better be the one to do it.
Okay, but this isn't just some abstract thought experiment. Next up, we're going to see how this exact dynamic played out in one of the scariest moments in all of human history, a time when the entire world held its breath. We're talking about 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis. The United States and the Soviet Union are locked in a standoff over nuclear missiles in Cuba. This, right here, became the ultimate, real-life game of chicken, played out on a global stage where the stakes weren't just losing face, they were nuclear war. Just think about the impossible position they were in. Both President Kennedy and Premier Khrushchev had to look strong. They could not afford to show any weakness to the world. But if neither of them blinked, the shared risk wasn't just a political loss. It was the potential end of civilization as we know it. So, how did they avoid the crash? Well, this is the clever part. They found a way for both sides to kind of swerve at the same time without looking like they were swerving. It was all about saving face. The U.S. publicly promised not to invade Cuba, but secretly, they also agreed to remove some of their missiles from Turkey. In exchange, the Soviets pulled their missiles out of Cuba. It was a genius solution that let both leaders walk away and claim some kind of victory, all while avoiding total disaster.
And don't for a second think this is just ancient history. You can see these same dynamics, this high-stakes signaling and posturing, playing out today in modern geopolitics. For instance, in the ongoing tensions between the US and China over Taiwan.
Okay, let's shift gears now, from global superpowers to the corporate boardroom, because these exact same principles pop up all the time in high-stakes business negotiations. It's a strategy called Brinkmanship, which is really just the art of walking away.
And this really nails it. When you can convincingly signal to the other side that you are totally fine with the deal falling apart, well, you're essentially driving that car straight ahead. You're daring them to be the one who swerves and gives you what you want.
So how does this whole walk-away thing work in practice? Well, it's pretty simple. First, you state your terms, your bottom line. Second, and this is the really important part, you have to show that you are genuinely okay with the deal completely collapsing. You're trying to make them believe that the only way to avoid that crash, the no-deal outcome, is for them to concede. And it can't just be a bluff. They have to believe you.
But, and this is a huge but, there's a massive risk. What happens if both people at the negotiating table decide to play chicken? Well, if both sides are willing to walk away, then you get mutual failure. The deal is dead, no one gets anything, the cars crash. So, after all that, from nuclear war to billion-dollar deals, what's the big picture here? Let's boil this all down. Why does any of this matter? Okay, here are the key things to remember. Number one, the chicken game is always a high-pressure test of will. 2, the main strategy is all about making your opponent believe you will not back down no matter what. 3, you can see this dynamic everywhere, not just in politics and business, but in everyday arguments too. And 4, maybe the most important lesson of all, if everyone refuses to budge, everybody loses.
Which leaves us with one last, kind of wild question to think about. If the whole point of the game is to convince the other guy you absolutely, positively will not swerve, does that mean the player who seems the most irrational, the most unpredictable, the craziest one, is actually the one with all the power? Something to chew on.